Welcome to Cashflow Legendz, where I am stoked to say that we're going to have a little brief introduction of who we are, what we stand for, and why you see these three good-looking dudes on camera and what we're here to talk about. So I'm here as Brandon Goswick. Everybody calls me Brandon. I've got my business partners, Nate Dean. Everybody calls him Nate, and Brock Fortner. And Brock is somebody that we've connected with over the past several years and grown a great relationship with. So what is Cashflow Legendz? We didn't want to be this podcast that everybody said, oh, that's too original. So we wanted to really spend some time letting you get to know us and how we all ended up here on the screen for you watching or listening. And the thing we want to be sure comes across is we're just three guys that love to try to help people. And one of the ways that we really help people is teach them with their money, with their mindset, with their financial acumen, how they can keep more of what they earn so they can earn more with what they keep. So I'm going to start with Brock because he's obviously the youngest and the best looking. Brock, tell us a little bit about how you got here, what your heart is, and what you're stoked about with Cashflow Legendz and the time we're going to be spending on this podcast.
Well, thanks, Brandon, for asking me that. How did I get here? I don't think I need to tell that story, but I've been here for, quite some time. I am younger than both of you guys, but I've taken a pretty unique route. I was kind of brought up in the business, but did the whole school route, even though I don't actually believe in the whole, let's do the whole college thing. I've got a couple degrees and I'm just like, I don't even know why I did that, but I'm fascinated with the aspect of learning and education. Majority of my time is spent reading and studying other people, studying math and finances and how it works, and ended up working with a practice here in Nashville and ended up doing my own thing a couple of years ago. And mainly I work with business owners, investors, and some what we would call the people with the W-2s and the jobs, and helping people get to a life that they don't have to retire from, but a purpose-driven life. And my heart, because you asked that question, is on the aspect of there's always this aspect of everybody wants to retire, but what happens after retirement? Because retirement was created, I believe, in Germany when they started all the factories and they wanted all the old people out of the factories so they could get the young people in to start working and be more efficient. Well, to me, I know that retirement means to take out of service. And I don't believe that we were put on this earth to be taken out of service. I want people to be able to retire before this crazy age of 65, but then have a purpose for their life after that. What are they going to do? Who are they going to serve? How are they going to pour in? How are they going to build the kingdom to which their domain is? And I believe that anybody can do it. They just need to have a little bit of a push and somebody say, hey, here's what you might not know about what's out there and how you can do this life.
So here's the beautiful thing about Brock's thought process. He comes from a lineage of teaching this. We all know his dad and we think very highly of him as well. So I'm really excited to dive into future episodes of how this journey got started. So let me pass it over to really my longtime friend. We've known each other all the way back to junior high, which we won't talk about how many years ago that was. And
I'll tell it.
Okay. So Nate, how did you end up here right now, and what are you most excited about?
So we are celebrating this year 30 years of knowing each other. So and that was junior high. So just do the math. Yeah. So we're both 42. We don't care if anybody knows how old we are. We're proud of that because we're taking care of our bodies and all that good stuff. But we reconnected, after high school, as so often, the way things go is life just kind of takes you different directions. And so you and I reconnected back 2016, 2017. I think it was early 2017, just really got into some accountability, just holding each other accountable in so many different areas of our lives. And it was in the midst of that accountability that we came across the book, Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash, unlocking the infinite banking concept. And that was the beginning of a journey that we couldn't even fathom at that time. We just knew that we were excited about something. We were excited about what we were doing for ourselves and wanted to be able to share that with other people. And it really goes along with a lot of what Brock was saying, which was this retirement myth is something that people need to get out of their head, because there's so much more to life than running hard until you're 65 and then relaxing. The reality is there's so many people that once they do retire, they lose their purpose. And when you lose your purpose, there's something physiologically that happens with your body. You start to break down. There's guys that years ago that would retire from the plant, and I mean they were strong, they were going hard and all that stuff, and 6 months to a year later they were dead because they were no longer active. They were no longer getting up and having something that they were excited about or anything like that, or they just knew that they had to go accomplish. So we love the idea of being able to bring hope and really a new way of thinking to people all across the country, and giving them the opportunity to actually create something outside of themselves. Because everything that we're doing right now, or what most people are doing right now, is they are just working in what they know. And there's so many things outside of what they know right now that can set them free. And, that's what we get to bring to the table. And it's a lot of fun. It's really exciting. And I'm fired up to be here with you guys. And I love the mission and the heart of what we're going to be doing. And I know we're going to be helping a lot of people along the way.
So to connect these two awesome stories, Brock mentioned having an education, a high education, even though he doesn't fully agree with that. We want to be sure that we always make this connection that we're going to challenge you, like Nate just said, to rethink your thinking. And I said this the other day in an interaction with somebody. I said, if you want somebody to tell you what to do, we're not your people. And that is a definitive line in the sand to how most people think about finding financial freedom. They're normally on this side, which I was. I was a middle school principal, head baseball coach, thought I was going to retire in education. I had a master's, all these things that you need to have to do that. 15 years in, doing the Dave Ramsey, paid off $100,000 in debt on average salaries at best. And I'm going, I'm exhausted. I don't know how I'm really going to get to where they say I'm going to get. And I was on that side of the line of sand where it basically said, I hope somebody just takes care of this for me and I don't have to think about it. So then Nate and I reconnect, and I read Become Your Own Banker, because he basically says, read it tonight. I need to know what you're thinking immediately. He wouldn't leave me alone until I did it. So I did as fast as I could. I'm a slow reader. And I'm like, man, if this has any truth and merit to it that we can prove, I feel like we just connected to a new way of thinking that we didn't know was possible just an hour ago or 5 hours ago, or a year ago. One of the things that you're going to find through all of us in our own stories, you have to be comfortable becoming uncomfortable in how you think. Because let me tell you, and these guys will concur, because this is what we get to do every day. We have the best jobs in the world. People prefer for you just to do what they tell you to do. And if you don't know why, you're probably not going to benefit first in that line of thinking. That's our goal, is to show you different ways to think about how you're thinking. And, Nate didn't mention this, but Nate has a background in ministry. And when we connected, I was a principal, or reconnected. And although Nate still has a heart for ministry and I still have a heart for teaching, I'm no longer in education. Nate currently is not a pastor. Brock, am I remembering Vanderbilt? Is that correct?
Yes.
Just let that sink in for a second. Okay. So we've already proven we can hang out with people way smarter than us, because we do not have degrees from Vanderbilt. Okay. But where we all really found a heart and connected, and y'all chime in on this, for me, it was on some foundational pieces. It was related to our faith, our family, our fitness, and our finances. We really had a connection there. And so Nate or Brock, Brock, you want to chime in on what really connected you for us to all move forward with this project?
Other than the fact that you guys dragging me into it, because I don't like doing this, I would say that, those 4 F's end up equaling the 5th F, which is freedom. We are very much aligned in that thought process of thinking of, if we can dial in those 4 areas of our lives, they will help us create this freedom life that we want to live, where we get to live life on our terms with who we want, when we want, how we want, wherever we want. Being a young guy that I am and knowing what's possible, I mean, man, I love dreaming and doing things that are way outside the normal box of what most people would say. And I think we were just so in line with that. And you guys drug me into the corner and beat me up and said, "Hey, you need to get on this video."
Actually,
So-
you want me to tell the true story?
Yeah, tell the truth.
All right. So
Tell
the true story is Brock and I are at a mastermind conference. Now, me and Brandon had already been planning on launching our podcast. But there was just something, I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was just something that was a little unsettling. And I don't know, I was just a little restless about it for whatever reason. And so Brock and I are at this mastermind conference that we've been invited out to. We spoke at the year before, and that's where we met initially, but that's where we all met initially. So we're at this conference, and then just like right in the middle of somebody speaking, I don't even remember who it was, but I was just like, we need to do a podcast. Like, Brock needs to be part of this. And so I was like, well, let me make sure Brandon's good with it. And Brandon's like, heck yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then, like, right in the middle of somebody speaking, I text Brock and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, dude, let's do it. So kicking and screaming is a little much.
A little dramatic.
A little dramatic.
It was on the inside.
Yeah, there you go. So Brock alluded to it. Nate alluded to it. When we interact with people, one thing that just absolutely thrills us is to be the spark for someone to really start realizing that what they've dreamed about is really possible. And that's just not the way the world typically works. I know we've all experienced this. When you see the other person start realizing with actionable, true information and variables they can really wrap their brain around, that what they envision being the best version of themselves and the freedom that they want, that is something that probably gets us fired up just about more than anything. And so Brock's dad often says to us, sometimes we just need to be the spark. And that is true. That's really what we are. But it's in helping people understand that there's a lot of different ways, as we say in East Texas, to skin a cat than the traditional ways we've been taught. So if I were to summarize what this is going to be about, we're going to give people ideas and insight of how to break away from the traditional norm to live their purpose-driven life so that when they do go into their next season of life, not retire, when they go into that next season of life or create that new opportunity, they know how they're going to still be living their purpose. Because like Brock alluded to earlier, guys, 65 to 85 is 20 years of power potential to impact others because you've lived so many years that you can help others with your experience. It's not time to die. It's time to thrive. And, we believe that is possible without a doubt. So we don't have any plan on retiring. So you guys hit me with one thing that you really want to emphasize, and we will tie this thing up for today and get ready for the next one.
Everything you were saying reminded me of something I saw recently. And this is something we say often is most people know where they want to go, but they have no idea that they're never going to get there. There was a recent, the Q1 401k balances for Fidelity was posted, and it showed 4 different generations there. The Gen X, the Millennials, Gen Z. The boomers was the most telling because those are the ones who are retiring or about to retire right now. The average 401k balance is $215,000. The median 401k balance is $61,000. And the reality is most people are closer to the median than the average. There's so many really awesome things that we can do when we control our money and don't leave it in the hands of other people.
Brock, I know you could go on a 4-hour soapbox rant on that comment alone, but I'm going to put the pressure on you. Give me a succinct thought that you've got in your mind going right now for the next podcast.
It's something that, as Nate was talking about on my vision map, one of the things that I read often is if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Oftentimes when I get brought into client meetings, whether that's my own, with you guys, with any advisor across the country, my main role is to come in and speak possibility and create a theory to see if we can create a reality from it. Through the podcast moving forward, I hope that we would be able not only to elude, but also prove what possibility is out there and how you can achieve it and accomplish it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to tie it up in a bow with this thought that connects to both of those. And, if we're hopping in the car today and we know our destination is X miles away, like Brock alluded to, we're not just going to start driving if we know where we want to go. We're going to map it out. We're going to know for sure that I need to hit this exit and that turn. And if I want to have some scenery along the way, or I want to stop for a break, or I want to invest in other people and see how they're doing, I'm going to have a plan that creates certainty, not guessing, and it's going to be a map. And I'm going to follow that map, but I'm also going to know, hey, if I need to adjust, do I have a way to have enough flexibility, fuel, resources to do that? And I think that's really what we're all alluding to. Now, we have access to some really awesome minds in this world. I imagine in the future, we will have guests on to just show people that opportunity is everywhere. And it's really about how you think more than anything else. And I'll leave us with this. Earl Nightingale said in The Strangest Secret, he said, "It does not matter what we plant in our brain, but it will most assuredly grow it." And that is the truth that Nate and I and Brock have experienced. You're putting thoughts into your brain. What are they? And you're absolutely feeding them if they're in there. That's daily, consciously or subconsciously. So, our goal and our premise is to teach you how to keep more of what you earn so you can earn more with what you keep. But it's even deeper than that. It's so that you can also start seeing clearly where you're headed, how to get there, and be excited about it, which is something that we know we can do because we're living it. And we're connected to people who can help you do that as well as ourselves. So a couple of quick things that we would really appreciate is liking, subscribing, following on any platform you see this on. We actually already have an email. If something pops up and you're like, hey, I'm really excited about what you guys are talking about, I'd love to learn more. You can follow that and email us at cashflowlegendz with a Z at gmail.com. That is the way we will get any information, and we will be excited to connect with you. And we really hope that we bring so much value to anyone listening that they recognize that they can experience their vision of what's the most successful life they can obtain. And we hope we get to go along the journey with you. So excited about this, guys. Looking forward to what the future holds, and consider it a great blessing to spend this kind of quality time with both of you. And until the next one, we'll see you again.